Hello, team, and welcome to the match review of the pre-season fixture between Grange and Pine Hill. This was played on the 25th of January 2026 at Pine Hill's fantastic, quite impressive facility, really. It had three good ovals, good facilities, good clubhouse, plenty of shade. Pitches were in good condition. Overall, you really could not ask for more from a pre-season fixture. In terms of reviewing this fixture, I thought a good starting point would be the goals that we set for ourselves at the start of the match. Key points where we needed to compete physically. We were expecting a team that, given that they're just into the academy space, would probably be less technical, but probably quite physical. And I think that was played out. Nonetheless, if you're against that situation, you always need to earn the right to play football, especially if you want to win the game. And I felt that we definitely did that. So that's green. Playing through the lines. Look, we were guilty of being too direct to some extent in the first half. I think we grew into that as we got through the fixture. And I thought particularly in the last 20 minutes, we played particularly attractive football. Finding the pass and using the width. There was a challenge given, especially to our central defensive midfielders, to find the pass and play through. It's one of the things I like about the play from our CDM positions last year was we had CDMs who received the ball and then looked to move it quickly, in addition to winning tackles and so forth. So Francis and Major were particularly charged with that role, and we'll talk about their efforts later on. In terms of defence, we wanted to be patient when we advanced the ball rather than just getting frustrated and lump it up. We really wanted to build possession and build passing. Move the ball through the feet rather than dribble or just try to hoof it long, especially at the back. And to use our width, we're technical enough to move through teams. I mean, it's an easy play to go around and kick down the flanks for someone who's got some speed. You can easily exploit time and space. We did that, but we also played through them because we have some very good technical ability within our squad this year. In attack, patience in attack, not to be too direct. Not to be afraid to drop back out of the line and then turn face forward and play through the line. Use the width in attack. We've got some very good wingers. Will does a fantastic job out on the right-hand side. And be patient. If the right pass is not on, don't take it, okay? Just reuse the ball, recycle it, and then look for the right pass. It makes you much more powerful. In terms of our front three press, they obviously spent a lot of time playing out. We created several opportunities from that. I felt we forced them to the flanks, to force them to width, which then forced them to lump it up. We forced the error on multiple occasions. I have video footage to illustrate the points. I'll remind everybody of how we formed up. On the day in question, we started with Zach and Isaac at the back, Zach Millichet on the right-hand side. Zach and Isaac had a good game. I think, Isaac, some feedback for you. Using your head as a centre-back, you need to win those long balls and head them back up the field from which they came, rather than using your leg or your chest. You're just going to put your head through it. And obviously, there was a lesson for you to learn in terms of keeping your arms down when you're jumping to try to block a shot in the box. I trust that won't happen again. It's a tough lesson to learn. Zach Millichet, he had a tremendous game, mate. Really good game, really strong, up and down that flank all day. We put you on the wing a bit later in the day. But yeah, really did a good job in defence, tracking back. Some really good passing and really joined in some good attacks. Major, I'll talk about you and Francis. You basically rotated the CDM position. I thought both of you displayed some really good passing. There's some specific points which I'll create a separate video on for you, Major, just to give you an idea of what expectations are going to be playing in that position, and to a lesser extent centre-back throughout the season. But on the whole, I was quite happy with both of your performances, particularly you, Francis. Honestly, just continue building on the performance that you put on. Luke Williams, look, honestly, in a game like this, probably wasted a little bit at left back. But we were very, very safe down that left-hand side. Still building on that relationship, pushing up and interacting with Mal when Mal's on the left, because he's naturally going to want to cut in on his right hand, or cut into the left. Well, sorry, he was actually playing as a natural winger, and I thought that made a difference. So there was it was less necessary to kind of have him play you in behind. But we also got a couple of goals because that allowed Mal to get down the flank, cut into the goal, and then because he was shooting with his left foot, he was able to get a better shot, rather than if he's on the right-hand side, you've got to cut in and run across the pitch. Max Marshall in the middle, very strong throughout. Riley, good first game in there. You're everywhere, very, very mobile, very dynamic. We had Mail had a really good game on that left-hand side. The guy was having nightmares. I suppose the only real feedback, sort of staying on your feet perhaps a little bit more. And you will learn to build, you'll build a relationship with the people around you in terms of where they prefer the ball and where to pass and so forth with them. Will, fantastic. Down that right-hand side, you had a bigger player. You cut in, I'm pretty sure you got a goal. Those driving runs created other ones, but a tremendous effort on the left-hand side. And Nathan offered us a lot up front. We obviously rotated you with Riley to give you a breather. Really good feed, really good shooting, really good interchange. We'll get into a lot of that once we get to the videos. Luca, fantastic effort fighting the throws of jet lag, mate. Just didn't quite make it to the game, and that's understandable if you just completed a long haul flight. Hayden, really good ball retention. When you managed to get on, I'm pretty sure you went on the left-hand side, which is your preferred position. And Luke Payne going in the middle of the pitch as opposed to on the flank. I've got some specific feedback that I'll send out to you. But on the whole, I think you're building into that role quite well. It suits your ability to retain the ball, your technical ability to control the ball and execute short, sharp passes. Pretty sure I've got everybody there. Danny was away, Ollie was away, and Benji was away with an injury. Okay, so let's get on to some footage of the game. First clip I was interested in was 13:31. So 1:31. Now, the feedback I have here is close the ball down earlier. This is feedback for the whole team. I think this is specific feedback for you, Luke. So as it comes back to there. Now, he's just won the ball. So the feedback I was wanting was, rather than stay put, close him down sooner, rather than getting him a chance to get his head up and have a look. He's just beaten Zach. You've got Francis on your inside, so there's nothing doing. Just close him down early. This is the first bit of feedback that I've got, because there were just a couple of, and it's probably just because it's pre-season and we're getting into our flow, but just a little bit more at it. So you can see what I mean. By backing off him, you give him a chance to come back in field. Francis is there. If you come in and close down the ball, he doesn't get that. But by allowing him to do that, it gives him an opportunity to turn inside. So he's gone from here, he's turned inside, and that's created some passing options. So he's got that pass, he's got this pass, he's got that pass. If he can make this pass, here in particular, then that creates opportunities for them to drive through, because they do have a gap here. So just closing down the ball earlier when they're in possession. Not a big one. It's very much a finer point, and I think it's very much associated with early on in the season. Goes across the whole team. I didn't want to labour the point by finding a whole bunch of examples of it, although there were several. We just need to be a little bit more aggressive at shutting down that ball in defence. So now I come to 534. So in this situation, we're talking about playing through now. Nathan, we can see in the middle over here. You can see Mal gets the ball at his feet. This is a good example here of the defender giving Mal, he's got almost 10 meters of space, heaps of space. And you can see Mal uses that as an opportunity to get his eyes up. He notices Nathan trying to look inconspicuous in the middle of the pitch. Nathan holds his position, allows the defender to play him on side. And it's a really good ball played across his path. Now, in this situation, this works because Nathan is bigger and he's got a pace advantage over the defender. And quite frankly, it's an excellent pass by Mal. He hasn't hit it too close to the goalkeeper, so the goalkeeper doesn't want to come forward, which means that Nathan's going to win it. As we let it play through, I'm pretty sure this ends up being the first goal. Really good finish, actually, from Nathan. He chips the goalkeeper who dropped earlier, and Nathan finishes it. So that's a good option, good vision if we see that. My point with playing through, though, is we can't have that be our only option. And also that play is heavily dependent on Nathan being able to outpace the centre-back and also it being a really good pass, which it was. And that's an advantage of having you, Mal, on the left-hand side with your left foot because your natural curve bends the ball around and closer to the striker as opposed to if you're a right footer where it's going to bend towards the goalkeeper. So we now move forward to 7-17. So I believe this is an example. This is definitely an example of what we didn't want. So we've already scored from that. Now, Nathan decides, Luke Payne decides he wants to take a leaf from Mal's book. What I would point out here is Nathan it's 4-on-1, and moreover, our midfield aren't in position. And in terms of helpers, Nathan, he's here on his Pat Malone. And the closest thing I think is Will over the back here. So this is probably not really a good opportunity to go that direct. In fact, probably, Nathan, what would be a better position for you would be if you had moved to this position so that you could support and receive a pass and link up rather than allow three shirts to be in between us. Yes, we had just scored a goal from it, but you're not going to score. It's a lower percentage attacking opportunity. So we'll let it play through. Luke lumps it up, and this is an example of what can often happen. Now, the goalkeeper's seen that. He's read that. Way too close to him. Nathan doesn't get within 15 meters of that pass. So a better option would be to play through. In that situation, Nathan, Paney, honestly, just roll it back. We've got players in behind you. Roll it back and we can build up. But I think in terms of positioning, Nathan, it'd be better if you were positioned closer to Nathan so you could be more involved rather than just setting yourself up for those big gut-busting runs all the time. That said, that pass does have a time and a place because you can catch teams out, but we're a better team than to overuse it. Now, the next pass, this is an example of a really good run executed by Riley. I think Riley was in at striker, so we can see that. So we can see what's building. Riley's in here now. Notice this is an example where I was saying before. Look, truth is, Nathan's off the pitch. Riley's playing a little. Nathan is off the pitch. Riley's playing as a striker, but he's not a natural striker. So what he's trying to do is he's playing a little bit more like a midfielder. That's the run he's looking to execute, knowing that you've got defenders. Oopsies, I do hate when I do that. 3 defenders. Will's over here. Max is over here. So Mal could have held onto it. Really good ball. So notice Mel checks his shoulder, has a look, doesn't see the big striker running up. What I would point out, though, is look where the keeper is. So the keeper is looking for that pass across the middle, Mel. I don't know whether you've seen that or not, but it's a good example of not overplaying that long ball, which I thought we were guilty of in the first 12 minutes of the game. Riley runs on it. Riley has acres of space and lots of opportunity to drive in at goal here. Diagonal ball. Now, Will's got lots of attention. There's a 2-on-1. Unfortunately, the ball doesn't quite find him, but not a bad idea. The other option for Riley there would be to check his run, wait for reinforcements to arrive and look for a cutback. But I don't have a problem with taking that option. Now we move forward to 14-20. So this was some feedback. So I believe this was feedback. I think it's Zach on the ball. So he's here. Now that's, look, a little bit too aggressive. I just want to roll it back a smidge. So when you get to this point, so you create up the space, but as a centre back, I need you thinking like a banker, okay? Because they've got a triangle of defenders. Riley has a player in front of him, and Luke has a player. So your ball here, bearing in mind, you've also got, I think it's Major on your inside. So Major's clearly playing at Cam. Or is it Luke? Actually, it might even be Luke. But anyway, and you've got Zach at the back. So the pass that ends up being taken, and I'll probably have to freehand draw it, is trying to dump it into there. Not a lot going on, though. The pass I would prefer to see in that situation would be a pass here to Mal, who drops in on it, okay? And then you could continue your run. Mal could play you through. We talk about this a bit because Mal's more than capable of taking a position, of getting the ball there, playing it here, and you continue your run through, and then you have got a real opportunity to attack. If you really run out of ideas, you could check, you could pass to Major, or you could pass to Zach. I just think this is way too direct. Okay, we can build up more. We're a better team than doing that. Not the end of the world, but just, finer points. We can build up more. Okay, so there's an example of dropping in to play forward. Okay, so look, one of the lessons from this was where I believe we had Riley on as a striker. You kind of need to be engaging the central defenders more if you're playing striker, but I understand it's not a position that you're necessarily familiar with, Riley. Danny's probably going to be, Danny and Nathan will be taking the striker load. So that attacking midfield role, maybe even a central midfield, or perhaps even a flank. But once again, unless it's absolutely on, as in Will's in heaps and heaps of space, but, we've got Mal over here on the left. He's got that. So we've got plenty of defenders back. We're asking a lot of Will here to play the ball through. We'll see how it plays out. So it's a good through ball. And then in this situation, we've now got runners coming through. So in this situation, Will, so you're at that point, what you'll look like you're looking at is Mal here. But if you can come infield a bit, check the run. So if you can find a way to dribble in a tiny bit, Mal then checks his run. So Mal then checks his run. Oh, give me the circle, would you? Mal checks his run. We've then got Major, Luke. We have then got runners running through, so we can have one running here, one running over here, running over here, to give you, Will, a range of options. We don't have to go too direct because this, look, it's on, but it requires a really good pass because you've got to get around this defender here. Got to get around this bad boy. This bad boy's coming to cut you across. So I think in this situation, cut in and link up to the middle. You guys should be screaming your asses off for the ball. Let's see how it plays out. As it is, takes on the shot. You know what? You're perfectly within your rights to take that shot on. But I would point out, if you see them, we did have Mal at the far post. We did have midfielders coming through. So that's just something to think about. Now, okay, so 1754. So I believe this is an example of, so coming out, okay, now this is a really good example of, I don't know, yeah, I think this was just execution. The run, the pass, and you can see it being lined up, the pass is to pass literally anywhere out here. Mal can then run onto the ball. Receive the ball, and then dribble. And as you can see from the map, there's daylight, you know what I mean, in front of him. The keeper's in a good position. He's up outside of his box, but he's not going to be happy about having Mal there. You've got Will in position. But these are the passes out of midfield that we need to not execute. Just kicked it straight to the defender. So we need to, when I talk to our central defensive midfielders about passing completion, that's a really good example. That's a dreadful pass, and it really exposes us to counter attack, particularly when there was just so much additional space. All you've really done is you've tried to pass inside of him, so you've gone for too much, Madge. You just had to take the easier pass. The easier pass is there. Mal gets onto it. Even if you'd been successful there, it's here. It's probably getting cut out by this defender here. So just take the easy pass. You know, look for the percentage pass. Blah blah blah. Now time 1852. So I mentioned earlier a little bit of fine tuning. So this is actually really quite good. This is something I like about having Luke Payne in that position. He's close control. He's here. He's on the ball. He is absolutely surrounded by opposition players, and he does have some friends. But if you look, noodles it around. They're staying off. Finds a ball in behind. Really good. That's exactly what I want. It does highlight the perils of not engaging the player. Remember I talked earlier in the very first video, get in there and engage, because if we're defending, if we've got 4 people around the bloke, you don't need to lead dribble. Just someone gets in there and contests the ball. So I'm really happy with that kind of play. That's 1853. Then we move to 1947, and this is a bit of a contrast because this is an example, Lukey P, where you've got the ball. Once again, you got traffic. Don't have to go forward all the time. Now, the pass was a good idea, but because of the pressure you were under, it ended up being a bobbly ball. So you see how it ended up being a bobbly ball? So in that situation, there's nothing wrong with just the back pass to, I think this may have been, I'm not sure who that may have been. It was either Luke W or maybe Max. I can't see the number. But don't be afraid to pass back. You don't have to go forward all the time. And in fact, you know, taking a really good option and playing back and rebuilding can be a really good option. It would still have been a good pass if it was on the ground, because if it's on the carpet, someone gets onto it. Because it's bobbling, it just means they've got to control it first. But do not despair, Lukey Payne, because the next example is now you're on the ball, okay, and you've got time. Technically, your technical ability does really well. You get it under control. And I quite like this because you very nearly scored. Now, you grab your head, but that's the thing I like about that is you take that shot. Okay, you've hit the bar. Fantastic shot. Hit the bar but hasn't scored. That sticks in the opposition's mind because they know you've hit the bar, which means the next time you're on the ball, they're going to be trying to shut you down, which means that you've got extra options. You know, they're going to be straining to get the ball. You can shift the ball. You can move. You can do a whole bunch of things. But what you absolutely have done is you've changed the game because they know they can't leave you alone. And that's well outside the box. So it's a really, really good effort. I would like our midfielders to build towards doing more of that. So let's just keep that going. Actually, I might just let this roll through because at 257 now, Major, I just want to ask, do you really have the boot for this shot? There you go. Not a bad idea. We just got to figure out whether or not that's a shot you've got the boot for, or distribute the ball, especially considering you're in that CDM role. So if we can consolidate possession and then spread them and put passes together, that will allow us to create those opportunities. Moving to 21-22. This is talking about positioning again, so we'll let this roll through. Now, that's a good example. Isaac, need to put your head through that, or you need to win it. Because if there's a striker bearing down on you, he's potentially going to get around you and get through. So as it turns out, Mick's pretty solid at the back. Something I wanted to talk about in here. Now we move it over there. Okay, so over to Isaac. Isaac moves it back. Zach picks it up. Now in this situation, this is just some feedback for you're right here, Luke W. I reckon you can be level and outside the person who you're wanting to beat, because the difference between these two positions is the speed at which you can counter. You can also be a bit wider, but you're probably a little bit too far back. Now, I know you were there because you were providing support and taking the pressure off, but the defender is here. If the defender is here, then obviously that's a better position. But if the defender's giving you that much space, just stand a bit higher and take advantage of it, okay? So we'll now go to 21-38, because at 21-38, yeah, this is actually pretty sure that's a really good ball. So Mal's got this guy, turns on him, and then just leaves him alone. This guy, I don't know what he did, sort of yelled touch, didn't he, basically? Anyway, this is something, because if you're on the left-hand side and you're a natural left footer and you're good with your left foot, at which you are, Mal, this presents the shot. So you dribble in, see you, bro. Really strong finish. If we're playing you on the right-hand side, then you'd have to cut in to bring the ball onto your shooting foot. So that's a difference between with having inverted wingers and having normal wingers. We will exploit the benefits of both throughout the season, but I'm just highlighting those differences so that we're aware of that. Because if you're following through on that run and Mal's on his left foot, he's more likely to shoot. If he's on the right-hand side with that run, you know that he's either going to pass or cut back onto his left hand, cut inside onto his left to shoot. And that should affect the position that you take on the pitch. Okay, so this here, yeah, so I think we've rolled past the intervention point that I was actually hoping for. It's a little bit before this. So this is an example where I wanted to be playing through. So good position by Zach. So we did really well. We created great work. That's exactly what we want there. The only thing in that situation is just make sure that you land the pass, Francis, because sometimes taking a touch when you're not under pressure means you can create that. So here we are. We've got the ball now, Luke. Now you're already looking over here. You can see from your eye line what you haven't seen. In terms of your passing options, you've got Luke Payne here, you've got Mal here, you've got Zach. You could potentially even, although I wouldn't suggest that this is a good pass. Personally, I wouldn't be a fan of that pass because it's too high a risk of it being cut out. And if it gets cut out, then you've got a 3-on-1 and they can break. But to me, these are your passes, either down the line for Mal. You can play into the pass of Luke Payne. This is too direct. Wacko. So you're kicking, yes, you've identified a striker, and it's a good pass, Luke. You've put it pretty much where you wanted to. But the problem is, Give me the circle, would you? The problem is you've got, it's quite. I mean, look, it could be that if I think it might be Nathan there, if he can win the ball and check it back, then we've got midfielders there. I would prefer to be playing through the opposition and managing possession with a higher percentage play in that situation. We don't need to be that direct. We can respect the ball, value possession more in that situation. So now we go to 27-13. Okay, so this is 27-13. My feedback was... Oh, that's 26. Yeah, I think we all know what happens at 27. 21, 21-38. There you go. So, yeah, Isaac, hands down, we're not trying to fly. You're in the box. Just keep your mitts down, keep them out of the way. So that brought us to half time. We were, I think we were 6-0 up. I know 6-1 up because they obviously got the penalty, which they converted. So 6-1 up, the blemish being that penalty because it was very unnecessary. I didn't think that guy was actually going to hit the target. So giving them the penalty just gave them an easy goal, which I don't think they would have scored otherwise. Easy fix, boys. Goes for anyone. If you're in the box, arms by your side. Don't keep your arms up flapping about because even an innocuous shot you can turn into a scoring opportunity by conceding a penalty. So we move forward. And this just covers. So in this situation, just with respect to the movement at the back, so we're here. Obviously, we've got Mick on the ball. The point that I was going to be making was, Isaac, you're currently moving away from Mick, and in this situation, you probably don't need to be moving away. Like, take the time to have a look because there's a lot of space. So what I would suggest is in this situation, you can actually be moving up here. And then obviously what's going to happen is, this striker, see by moving back, this guy's going to try to cut out Mick. But if you move back, he can get over here. However, by stepping up and stepping into this space, it allows Mick to pass the ball and this guy's out of play. And it also brings you closer to Zach. Okay, so just a little bit of positioning. We can be, and it will probably happen naturally as we get more comfortable and more confident at the back. But you are more than good enough with your ball control that you don't need 30 metres of space between you and the attacker. So let's work on that. There was an example of that earlier, which I highlighted. So, this is a pre-season. This is why we have these it's why we have these games to fine-tune this stuff, and it's why we have these feedback sessions so that we can also fine-tune this stuff. I'll now go forward to 42-40. Okay, so 42-40. Now this is, I want to move the ball through the feet here. Yeah, this was bothersome. So the situation is we got Major on the ball. Everyone's spread out. Isaac's dropped in to receive. Zach, you probably could do with being a little bit deeper. So the easy play here is quick pass to Mick to there. I would suggest that Isaac could actually step up and then come wider and then link up with Zach. That's the play. And then we can move it quickly, move it through the feet. But you've dribbled all the way across the pitch. Like it's still going. And what we've effectively done is we've turned, so now we've lost all this space. Okay, so it's making Isaac's job harder because we've given them time to adjust, time to apply their press, and we've really taken down a lot of our options. Puts a lot more pressure on Isaac. Whereas for going to Mick, Mick then goes to Isaac, we would have had the ball, relatively, we'd have had the ball up here by now. We've had it up in this direction. So move the ball through the feet at the back is the lesson from that, okay? So 43-16. Yeah, So I think in this situation, what I was highlighting there, I believe this is feedback for you specifically, Zach. You see, you're very high. See, you're really high here, Zach. Need you dropping in faster. So you need to drop into support because no one's getting you the ball there. You need to drop into here. So this is where you need to be. So your run needs to be coming back to there because at the moment, you're playing more like a right winger. So you need to drop in and drop back there. You weren't a right winger at this point. You're still a right back. So that's just some finer points on play. 43-57. This was the start of the second half. I felt we did sort of lose our way a tiny bit as we got to this point in time. Got a little bit complacent in this situation. I wanted to highlight this because Mick, you're way outside of your box there when we've got numbers. So I mean, we can go back a little bit further. I know you were feeling very confident and you wanted to get involved in the game. I think this guy just lumps it. And you've come for it. Now, look, in this situation, I don't think you need to come for that, Mick. You've got Major coming across. You've got Isaac coming across. So both your centre-backs are coming towards the ball. So I think you can just sort of leave it to them and maybe take a position as a supporting passer so you can get the ball and then you could potentially get the ball and then you could just pass it out to the left-hand side where you've got Luke Williams, who is itching to attack. So, yeah, I don't think that's a little too aggressive, I suspect. There's a lot that could go wrong. So 50-41, well, skipping all the way forward. Okay, so here we are. So I think Will's going to win the ball. Or is he? Yeah, this highlight was meant to be a near post run. Yeah, I took it back to that. I think it goes a little bit further back than that. Boom, boom, boom. Boom. Really like this respecting possession. Really good. You see Max he's found a pass. He's got Francis into some space. Francis recycles the ball, comes back to Max. Max is available. Now Max he's got time to look up, finds the run out there to Will. Now in this situation, what we need in this situation is we need to have the striker and the winger, but they're basically the striker's executing a near post run, and then the left wing is the one who comes in and looks for the run in behind. But we've got to contest the ball at the near post. Otherwise, and look, okay, the goalkeeper's a muppet. That should have been shut down. But it's an illustration of the runs that we should be taking. Because if you make a near post run, then you just need to get a flick on it. And all of a sudden they're in trouble. So 56. So 55-56. This is, once again, I want to move the ball through the feet. Major, stop running with the ball. Move the ball through the feet because you could have turned inside, given it to Mac, to Zach faster. We need to move the ball more quickly through the feet because it ends up giving them a chance to get on top of us and potentially creates an issue. And we're lucky that was a dreadful shot and Mick did a very good job of getting something in front of it. We need to move the ball quickly. You're allowed to move the ball with your feet. One thing I did want to say, though, and this is just a little bit of feedback for you, Mick, with respect to your positioning on that. Okay, so you go to Major. Major gets the ball. You got a mile of time and space there, Major. Turn, drive in, turn, look for the pass. But by running, you've let them close you down. And then bang, he's onto it. So now the reason that you end up in this position, Mick, is because you're well advanced and it's turned over, which is another good reason as to why we don't kind of run ourselves into trouble, keep the ball moving. And basically what I think you've done is you've lost your posts. But if you look at where you are now, like, you're here. Sorry, I'll get a circle. You're here. There is a lot of goal exposed. So at some point in that sequence, don't get transfixed on the ball. You got to have a quick look back to see where your goals are. That's the solution there. It's difficult because you're on the field and you're trying to figure out where the ball is. It's a problem. I'm going to let it roll through. As it is, it was a terrible shot, which has helped. Was a good save, but it's still a bloody awful shot. And now we're going to go through to 50. We're going to let it roll through to 56-37. So they have a corner. Now the question here for this corner is who was marking this bloke? Because this is where it comes. I can't actually see who had him, but this is where the run comes from. All the way out here. So this bloke is allowed to execute a run completely unopposed to about here, where he gets on the end of the ball and just punts it into the back of our net. So let's watch as it plays out. What side of the player must we be on, boys? We must be on the goal side. Got to get between them and the goal. So look at him go. He's just running through. I don't know who's lost him. Ball still coming in. He just volleys. Pretty good finish. But terrible football on our behalf. Now, this was the first 20 minutes of the second half. We really went off the boil. And hence it resulted with a drinks break chat where I asked you to go and win the second half because we'd really, really fallen away, which is disappointing. You cannot drift in and out of games, even at this level. So we'll go to 60-30 where we had an opportunity to play through them. Yeah, okay, I'll go back a little bit further. Okay, so we won the ball. We got it. We play through, doing a really good job of managing the possession. I think that's going to go back to Mick. Mick then finds Isaac. Isaac steps up. I think he's going to find Max here. Really good. Max in a mile of space and time. Beats his man. Now, at this point in time, so we do have some Max is looking, and the run Max is looking for, and this is actually a good ball. Oh. He's had time to measure it, given. Start again. Riley, Max on the ball. Nathan's here. Will's probably offside. The pass that he's looking for is this pass through for one of Nathan or Riley to run onto. The issue that we've got, though, is they've got what, 1, 2, 3 blokes around Nathan. So he's absolutely sandwiched. Riley's got a good run into space because this guy's marking thin air. But my point in this situation is, Nathan, rather than run through, what you could do, what I would suggest might be a worthwhile effort, is you could check your run and drop in. And then you receive the ball from Max. Now, because they're all running backwards, you could receive the ball and then turn and face. And then all of their backline. See, the problem at the moment is they're all running backwards with us. But if you check in and receive the ball, you can link up again with Max potentially, but all of their defenders have to stop. Some will stop, some will drop. So you'll probably end up with a staggered line. So their back line, instead of looking as it does at the moment, it's probably going to look a bit like, give me my free term. It's probably going to look a bit like this, which is easier to get runs in through. You've still got Will out here who's got the time and the space. So look, and it's a pretty good pass. The problem is, and this is where we talk about going straight down the middle, it's hard to get the weighting on that pass perfect. So to me, I think the better option is for Nathan to check his run and then play through. Because, if If you notice their keeper's just camped in the 6-yard box, and that's definitely on. But if you look at their keeper throughout the game, if there was anything he was good at, it was positioning himself in the right position to cut those passes out. He was pretty good at coming forward, to give where credit's due. And then we go to 61-8. So this is the first bit. So I think that we'd gone away from what was useful. So this is another opportunity. There's not a hell of a lot going on here. And I think what we end up trying to do is we end up trying to kick long for Nathan. The problem is, if you look at their goalkeeper, you can see in the picture here, their goalkeeper, he's just out of shot. He's right up high. He's like about 5 or 6 meters outside of his box. So that pass is going to have to be pretty amazing if it's straight. And these are the defenders. You've got this guy trying to catch up, this guy trying to catch up, and that's fine. You've got Will here, and you've got Nathan. My suggestion is that the better option in this situation is for Nathan to drop in. Because if Nathan drops in and receives the ball, then we've got the situation where Riley can continue his run, Will can continue his run. Might have been, I'm not sure who it was out on the left-hand side. And then you've got the midfield. So if we drop in and we receive the ball here, then all of a sudden we get a whole bunch of other options to play through them instead of going long, because if we go long, let's see what happens. All right, kicks to Will, Will skins him, but the goalkeeper gets it. So a little bit of patience, boys, a little bit of patience. But I felt that this was a point in the game where, we felt that it was one. We were just sort of letting standards drop a little bit. But we can play through them. There's no rule against playing through. I'll just let this roll through to 6:51. 50. And this is another example at 6:51. Just use the easy pass. See, that's an easy pass. Will's there. Probably a little bit. Not really what we wanted there. Isaac going back. There's a second ball on the pitch. Comes to Mick. Goes to Isaac. So you can even see, I think it's Major in the middle. He's pointing back to Mick. Now, you can go to Mick and then Mick can pass to Zach. But that's fine. But I think you can use the easy pass in build up. The one I really wanted to talk about in here, though, was use the easy pass, because in this situation, you've literally got Luke Williams standing here with Neville nobody on him. You've got an inside ball there, you've got an inside ball there, and you've got the ball there. Now we're trying to get past a defender who's right in front of Will and ultimately wins the ball. Just go through one more set of feet. Go to Luke, okay? So let it play through. So you've kicked it to Will. Will does a great job of trying to control it, but he's got players on him. Just go to Luke, and then Luke can drive or Luke can get involved in the play. We were just getting way too direct. This is coming in, and we lost that 20-minute section 1-0 because we just went away in my opinion, we went away from our game. We need to stay vigilant. We need to stay on top of things. So now we'll go to 6:55. Okay, so 65:55. Okay. Yeah, look, we won't dwell on that one, I don't think. It's fine. Yeah, what we were talking about there was good passing. We might actually go back a little bit further on that, because this is a corner. Okay, so the corner comes in. I'm pretty sure they managed to kind of clear it, though not really. We win it. Luke Williams comes down, wins it, gets it to Will. Will gets it. Will pass it to Luke Williams. So we're managing possession. You know what I mean? Francis got the ball now. No ridiculous shot. Doesn't get too direct. Just passes it into, it might be Max. Finds Riley. Riley moves it to Zach. Zach moves it over to, oh no, that's Will. Will cuts inside. Will was just, honestly, it was making this guy look like a Sasquatch on laxatives. He was just running rings around him. The final option, I mean, the pass is obviously trying to go to, I can't tell who it is, might be Nathan on the inside there. Personally, I think you could have driven into the box there, Will. You've got that guy for pace. I'd be inclined to just say, hey, why don't you just drive into the box and make some magic happen? Because the closer you get in, the more you're going to draw defenders and then we're going to have cutbacks. But anyway, that's fine. So good cross. Unfortunately, straight at the goalkeeper, but that's okay. Did the work to get into that position. Now we go to 68-22, and this is where we talk about playing through. So it's a good example, I think, of basically doing what I asked you to. So you notice how we played the ball back in. We might even go a bit further back than that. Okay. Goes out. Okay. There you go. Max cuts it down. Now, in this situation, rather than everybody just pinning the ears back and going hell for leather running forward, because you can see their line. So we've got Max on the ball. They've made the mistake of letting him get his eyes up and have a look. You've got Mel, I think it is, out here. I think that's Riley. Nathan here. Probably Hayden over on that side, I reckon. And as far as their defenders go, you got these boys here. Max does have someone coming to shut him down, so he hasn't got a world of time. Later in that second half, the pass that we were very much looking for from here was one going direct. You can see their goalkeeper, he is a little out of position. He is on the edge of his box, but he's still probably going to cut that out unless it's incredibly well. Okay, so we play through. Will comes to the ball, but watch how it evolves. Notice that they're still moving backwards, okay? So they're still moving backwards, but now we've got Riley free because these guys are preoccupied with Nathan, so they have left him heaps of space. Will gets the ball, probably not the best first touch, but it allows Max to continue his run and run through because the defenders have to form their line and try to set the offside trap, but Max has momentum as he runs on through and runs on through onto the ball. And there we are, and he dribbles it in, squares it. Ooh, and we can't quite get on the end of it. But that's a really good high percentage chance if someone gets on the end of it. And it's come about because we've been patient and we played through them. So we'll now go to 80-02, which I've highlighted because it's a really good example of linking up as we play through. Okay, so Zach runs around this guy. We had Zach there. That's a really good 1-2 pass. I think, what is that? Riley there. Really good 1-2 with Zach. Cuts in. Now, this is what I thought you could have done earlier, Will, but you were getting a little bit tired. Just cut in, get into the box, because what you got is you got Nathan for a tap in. You've got Riley on the inside, and you end up saying, nah, bug you all. I'll just score by myself. But the point is, you've done the work to get that opportunity, and you've been good enough to finish it. So honestly, I think that's a really good example of the kind of play that we're wanting to try to produce. Moving to, actually, I will need, in terms of the statistics associated with this match, they were all really quite good, actually. 9 goals, 68% shot accuracy. We won 7 corners and 26 throw-ins. We had a 32% conversion box. Notice our conversion rate in the box was 40% and it was 13% outside of the box. So that's a good example of the benefits of playing through and controlling the ball. As the season progresses, I would like us to get much better at dominating possession in the opposition's final third or our attacking third, and playing the ball, moving it to create opportunities. We controlled the middle of the pitch really effectively. I'll just go to the statistics because that shows this stuff really well. That's in the pass location. So pass location across the full recording really commanded the midfield. As we go to the pass location, there we go. So this is with us running from left to right. This shows how good our back four was at stringing passes together. You can probably remember what these looked like last year. 50% of our passes were completed in the middle of the pitch. And then we did a much better job than we usually do of managing possession and controlling possession in the attacking third because we were patient. We didn't feel compelled to force the pass and take the first opportunity that was available to us. In terms of passing strings, honestly, this was one of the more pleasing statistics of the entire game, in my opinion. We had 17 passing strings of 3 to 5 and 6 passing strings of 6 or more passes. I'm not convinced that we actually produced many passing strings of greater than 5 last season. If you can control the ball and you can move it around, you move the opposition around, and you're patient, and you will create the opportunities. So that was a really, really pleasing statistic for me. And then finally, if we look at the heat map. So obviously, down at this end, the blue square is where Mick stood. Essentially, I mean, what this kind of highlights is that we spent a lot of time going down the left-hand side. But it really shows the heat map. We controlled the middle of the pitch, and we spent a lot more time going down using wider areas. We weren't too direct. So I thought it was a really pleasing heat map. Let's have a little bit of a play with that feature. So, boys, that wraps up what I wanted to say with respect to this recording. I'll whack this up onto YouTube. Key features, as I said at the beginning in the match review, play through the lines. We got better at that as we moved through, and I've highlighted examples of when we did it well, and I've highlighted examples of when we didn't do it well, and we've let the ball do the work. So on the whole, I think that's a much better performance than the first game against North Star. It's also a much better performance than well, honestly, most of our games last year. So as a team, I think we've come a long way, and I'm very much looking forward to Sunday morning when we start our season against Redlands. I'll see you this afternoon. Cheers.